Welcome to Ask the Experts with James Oldroyd, your go-to for international business. We're here with Dr. Brooke Lahneman, professor at Montana State University, discussing her research and expertise in sustainability and international business.
Environmental scientists and ecologists for a long time have been telling us that the Earth changes. There are systems on Earth. There are 9. They're called the 9 planetary systems, and they function with various conditions in place. They function well to keep human life prosperous, to keep nature as we know it healthy, and if we exceed those functioning limits called boundaries, then we start to see degradation in one or more of those areas, and that affects us as humans and our livelihood. We just need to make sure that we're interacting with these planetary systems in ways that allows them to stay healthy, also so that we can then sustain our economies and our well-being. So we absolutely need individual companies analyzing their own environment and taking action. It's wonderful that individual businesses are taking those actions, and it's a really good step in the right direction. However, those actions, the effectiveness will be limited if those individual organizations do not share information with one another or look to what we call broader scale processes. The idea to enact practices in your own organization is good, but there just needs to be information sharing beyond the boundaries of the organization to understand the back and forth effects of what those actions are doing. Now we need to speak to each other. The business research area and businesses need to talk to ecologists and vice versa to share what we know. Drawing on these different parties that have their attention focused on different aspects and different scales is really beneficial, because that means that one organization doesn't have to do it all. They don't have to, design and sell a product and service and be competitive and be sustainable in their operating context and pay attention to everything that's unfolding throughout the globe. They can partner with people that are what we call at different scales and just share information. Not only will we create a more resilient planet that then sustains us in our economies and livelihoods, but I think we'll also see better prepared businesses for any sort of volatility that might happen. I think with resilience in organizations, one of the key things to think about is, what are these planetary boundaries? What are they? Just educate yourself on what are planetary boundaries. What are these 9 Earth systems? And then where is my organization operating in the world? And what kinds of environments are these organizations operating in? As a multinational enterprise, you're going to have multiple locations to think about, and you should be. Don't just think about one location, think about all the locations, and then think about what planetary boundaries are more relevant to those particular locations. And that will clue you in as to what issues you should be focusing on. Is it land use? Is it carbon emissions? Is it ozone? That will help narrow your scope in what otherwise seems as a really huge framework to grasp. And then the other key thing you can do is what we call zooming in and zooming out. So get to know your organization really well. Get to know these locations that this organization is operating in. Get to know these contextual factors, we call them. And then zoom out and see, how does this organization's activities affect the local community? How do this organization's activities affect the country, the globe? Maybe we don't have control over how nature works. We can't control how the water cycle works and the reasons it rains in a particular place when it does, or if there's a drought one year, we can't solve the drought. But we can gain control over our knowledge of how all of that works. So I think it's a different kind of control where if we really understand the ins and outs of the science behind how nature works, we have a whole toolkit now about how to develop strategies and practices that fit and will unfold in ways that we want them to. So I think it's actually quite empowering